I was very interested when you got a hold of us and you were adamant that you wanted to play Project Ares more. And we don't sell to individuals.
It's
What
unfortunate.
it is unfortunate. We
Mhm.
typically go through schools like Next Gen T, your alma mater. What inspired you? What made you want to get back into Project Ares?
I tested it out pretty much through NextGen T. We had access for 2 months, which was awesome. It was amazing. I loved it. But what I love the most about how Project Ares is how realistic everything is, and all the commands and everything that we're using. It's I don't want to bash on other cyber labs, but I've done Cyber Wraith too, and Cyber Wraith is actually like game more of like they give you commands that are similar but not really the command, like you understand the scope but you don't really know how everything works. For Project Ares, it's actual practice, it's actual commands, it's actual like work. Like this is what I'm going to be doing, like 40 hours a week for a job, and I absolutely loved it. I didn't feel like I got the most out of the 2 months because of life getting in the way and COVID and having classes and everything that was going on in my life.
Mhm.
And I finished the boot camp in July. It's now September.
Wow.
I'm interning at this company for IT slash operations, but I'm not doing anything like really cybersecurity related. And I feel like I really miss how everything was with Project Ares. And I remember my professor saying that there was once upon a time where Project Ares was for individuals, but they closed it off. And I was hoping that I could like reach out to you guys and find a way if I could just like, get like money under the table or something. Something to get me like some kind of practice because I really miss it, and cybersecurity is my passion and my goal. I like started right away. I already did the first mission and documented everything. I was doing the
Wonderful.
battle rooms. Yeah, I just couldn't wait. It's just something that I think there isn't anything that can come close to how Project Ares is, unless if you have like an actual job.
Right. It's a cyber range that's emulating real life situations. That's the power behind it. You can encounter these types of situations in the real world. You can use these tools in the real world. And this is the gamified environment that allows you to sort of sink your teeth in, dip your toes into the water, get
Mhm,
yourself prepared. I'm so happy that you called us. It's incredible for us to have that real world feedback from people
mhm.
who like playing the game, because some folks have a natural inclination towards cybersecurity and some people are out there faking it till they make it, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. With that being said, I wanted to find out what inspired you to start studying cybersecurity. How did you find out you were interested?
Oh man, that takes me back. So when I first started school, I actually like lived in Jordan, and one of the computer classes that we had to present something for the class from the course. And the teacher just like randomly was giving out subjects for people to go study up on, brush up on, and present it to class. Mind you, I was in the third grade. Like,
Wow.
yeah, it was very young on, early on, and she assigned me hackers.
Mhm.
Ever since then, I was like super intrigued with hacking and computers and cybersecurity and all those things. But when I moved to America, things were different. I didn't really know the language, and then when I finally started catching on, I was like, okay, I want to do programming because I thought that's where it would lead to. And I did programming 3 years in high school, and then I did programming in college, computer science. I'm almost graduated with computer science, a bachelor's,
Congrats.
one more semester. But I noticed that it's like completely different world than actual cybersecurity. It's related, but not exactly how cybersecurity is. And I've seen a lot of those boot camps where it was for computer science. And then when I finally found a boot camp that was for cybersecurity and it was NextGen T, I reached out to them. I took their assessment and they told me I was 81st percentile from the assessment. And when I took the course, and I just fell in love even more. And I was like, this is my passion. Like, this is it. I've known this since the third grade. I never actually took action until I was 25, 24, 25. But I'm glad at least I took the action and not waited even longer.
This is a wonderful story, Waji. This is so cool. I just want to back up for a sec. I'm a first generation American. My parents are both immigrants. You were born in Jordan. How old were you when you came to the US?
Actually, I was born in Iraq, and
Oh,
after the
wow.
war,
Okay.
yeah, after the war, I moved to Jordan, and I started in Jordan at the second semester of second grade, and then I came to America when I was 12, almost 13, which was seventh grade here. Second semester of seventh grade.
Incredible. So you came into America, didn't speak the language. You had, it sounds like an amazing education where you're learning to program early. That's more of an exception than a rule, I think, sometimes in the United States. Is that more common, do you think, in the Middle East to get programming skills earlier on?
We didn't really have programming earlier on at third grade. It was mostly like teaching us how computers work and teaching us like Microsoft Suite and how to work with a computer. The programming language itself, they do start teaching that, but it's a not really mandatory for years. It's probably mandatory for 1 or 2 semesters, but I actually left before they had done that. And this, I think they did that in the 8th grade or right when high school started. They make you mandatory take 1 or 2 classes. Because I remember I was talking to one of my friends back in Jordan, and I was telling them about programming and how cool it is. I didn't think they had anything. They're like, "Oh yeah, we mandatory took that." And I was like, "What?" Like, that's people here like take it as an option or if they want to, but over there they like everything is completely different. When I came here, my math skills, because of how Arab countries are, was way more advanced. I was already doing algebra and algebra 2 in 7th grade, but when I came here, they had to like start me from way below. And it was just
Wow,
that was the
crazy.
unfortunate part. Yeah, having to like redo all the math and science that I've already done.
That is challenging. It's amazing. The US schools can definitely learn something from how foreign cultures are handling education.
Absolutely.
So you're going to 4-year university right now studying computer sciences. How did you find Next Gen T on top of that?
So, like, how did I run into them, or how did I find
Yeah.
Juggalo?
Well, first, where do you go to college? What school?
University of Houston.
So you're already a student studying computer sciences, and then you decide to do this additional cybersecurity education boot camp on top of your 4-year undergrad. So what made you decide to do this? How did you find these guys?
I've always wanted to take a boot camp for computer science because I felt like university was teaching me the basics and teaching me the fundamentals, but not necessarily preparing me to actually be sitting down and coding, sitting down and actually knowing what to do in an actual 40-hour week job. So I looked for boot camps and I found a lot that were for computer science, but I took a class called operating system in the university, and I absolutely hated that class. I feel like I reached a point in programming where I just cannot comprehend it anymore, or it was just completely difficult for me, like different and difficult. So I didn't know how to move forward past that. And that's when I was like, you know what? I don't even really want to do computer science. I wanted to do cybersecurity and maybe AI, but AI has to do with computer science. One day I was just on YouTube watching cybersecurity videos and learning how it works and everything, and it just was an ad on YouTube that popped up with the NextGen TCO, and he's like, I failed the CCNA 3 times before I passed it, and that's how the ad started. And I saw that and I was like, oh my god, this might be like the sign, because I just want to do something that's more useful than going to a class and learning fundamentals but not really applying anything to it. Not trying to bash on universities, but I feel like as a trade school it is much better than a university in my opinion. I went to their website and I applied thinking, well, they have a program where you don't have to pay until you actually get a job. And they had also like tests that you take, and they will actually select the people that will qualify for cybersecurity or for network engineering. And after I took the test, I had a meeting with one of the reps, and he told me my score. And so I was like, oh my God, like I wasn't even sure that I did that well in it. I was just super excited, and I opted into their January part-time cohort. And I actually took less classes that semester as well. And I thought, it's COVID. I'm at home more than not, and now I can do classes online, so I'm not really wasting an hour drive to university, an hour back, or 2 hours, because Houston is so like packed and traffic
Right.
is ridiculous. Yeah, so I thought this would be like the perfect time for me to do it. Plus, it will run into the summer where I'm only taking a class per semester of the summer mini semester. So I thought this would work perfectly. And it was nighttime classes, and everything just fit in. I was like, I have to like pull the trigger and do it. It was the best choice I've done this year.
That's wonderful. So, who was your professor or who was your teacher at NextGen T?
We had a few. Pat was one of our professors, and he's mostly for networking. But our main professor his name is Vamsi, and I
Okay.
loved how easily accessible it was to talk to the professors, to schedule a time, or even in class, they were 2 hours long, but it felt like a breeze. Like if there's any problem or anything, you'd raise your hand, you ask a question, and they'll give you real life scenarios. They'll give you any type of way to explain it, and everything made sense. I never hit a block where I was like, I just don't understand it. And even if I didn't, all the lectures were recorded. On top of that, the homework is actually a redo of the actual slides that we all did, but it's in a much shorter version because there's no one asking questions, no one doing anything. And it's not the same exact video that we watched, but the same professor teaching it in a different way. And some of them were a different professor teaching it, but it was mostly Vamsi and Cheryl and Patrick, I believe.
Wonderful. I know Vamsi and Cheryl. I don't think I've met Patrick. That's excellent.
Mm.
That's great. They're great guys. You're in Next Gen T. You studied, it was like a 2-month course. Is that right?
No,
How long does it?
mine was 6 months because I did the part time. It started
Okay.
end of January and ended end of July.
And what was the certificate that you finished with?
I took their Next Gen T cybersecurity associate certificate and their professional certificate. I ended up with these two, and I'm preparing to take my CompTIA Security Plus. It was a new thing where now they give vouchers. If you finish everything that you're supposed to with your milestones, they'll give you a voucher because you've already signed up through them. And I'm preparing for my CompTIA Plus, Security Plus, and I've noticed that a lot of the questions from the exams that we took for the professional and the associate for Next Gen T are pulled from actual CompTIA questions. So they were very similar, except that there wasn't any lab related. But the professional one, there were 2 labs related, and they were actually pulled from Project Ares. And that
Wonderful.
was awesome. Yeah, it was, for me. It was mission 4 and mission 5. I don't know if it's the same or not, but one of them was, I believe it was botnet, and the other one was the malicious processor that I had to
Stop
do.
malicious processes. Mission
Mhm.
4. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. That's so cool. That's one of my favorite ones. You're studying computer sciences right now, but you felt it wasn't giving you enough of the real world experience. I encounter that a lot. Do you feel that Project Ares gave you the hands on the keyboard skills that you needed to push forward?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm coming back for them, because if I had an actual job, then that is Project Ares. Like it's there's no real difference between an actual job and how real Project Ares is. And if the university had something like Project Ares, then that would be absolutely wonderful. And I would love for Project Ares to actually reach out to universities and implement that. I have a colleague here at work who is studying masters at University of Houston to get cybersecurity, and he saw the like things I've done with Project Ares. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm almost going to graduate with masters, and I'm not nowhere near you." And I was like, "You should join this."
So what's next for you? You're still working to graduate. What's your plan? What do you want to do? What's your dream job?
My goal currently is to graduate with computer science degree first, and to me, that is just to say that I did it and to make my parents proud, and as well as like I'm only 8 classes away from graduating, taking 5 this semester and 3 next. So it makes no sense to not graduate. But as far as my degree or my career wise, I would like to do work as a cybersecurity analyst for at least a year, and in the meantime study for CEH. And I believe now Next Gen T is offering CEH courses, or they will be sometime in the future. I want to get 1 year of cybersecurity analyst, get my CEH, and become a penetration tester, and see how I would fit with red teams and penetration testing. And if that's something that I want to continue, then I feel like that's where I would like end my goal. Because after that, I've heard how if you become like a CFO, you're there for only 2-3 years and you take all the blame. That's how like they tell us. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's not for me. I don't want to just
Yikes.
be in a company for like 2 or 3 years and then get kicked because I take all the blame.
I was just talking to someone earlier today who
Mhm.
told me a similar story. So it's not it's not that far off. They say heavy is the head that wears the crown. It's challenging. Well, that's excellent. I think certified ethical hacking is wonderful. I think you're on a great path to getting there. This is very exciting. Is there anything else we should know about your journey that you think could inspire other students to get involved?
Honestly, whatever age you're in, whatever you think it is, it's never too late. There were people in my course, in my Next Gen T cohort, that were about to retire and they were still taking the cohort because they don't want to let go of their dreams. So whatever your dream is, like chase it. Don't let any obstacle stop you. And there's always a way to make it work. If there's a will,
Love it.
there's a way.
I love the positivity. I love the energy. Waji, thank you so much. I appreciate you making time.